Only one row, sir.
Along with answers, it is given. That is also uploaded in the site. Then we discussed about the IRACP norm, that is a recovery policy. Question paper along with answers as well as the detailed PowerPoint presentation is also uploaded in the CBO website. Now we are discussing the compromise policy of the bank, for which, if I am correct, the question paper or even if it is the PPT would have been uploaded. Otherwise, evening we will upload the question paper for this OTS policy also, along with the answers also, it will be uploaded. So the other task given to me, maybe in the next 2 or 3 classes, maybe Friday and Saturday I have a class, there I will be completing the miscellaneous policies of the bank. Friends, the respective faculties would have carried you through, for example, the gold loan policy or the agricultural lending policy or MSME policy or retail lending policy, deposit policy, KYC policy, etc., etc., credit review and monitoring policy, whenever they have covered the subjects. Now, other than that, there are left out various policies in the bank. So from those policies also, we expect some questions. So those policies which are not covered by various faculties, so the general miscellaneous policies, out of which 3 or 4 policies I already covered, the question paper with answer is already posted to you. For example, debit card policy I covered, ATM policy I covered, then I covered internet banking policy and mobile banking policy. That is already uploaded with answers. Now, I'll be discussing various other 10 to 15 policies, that is miscellaneous policies with question paper. For that, there is no PowerPoint presentation from my end. A question paper with explanation and answers that will be discussed, and the question paper with the answers also will be uploaded. So policies, if you see, all the policies are the current year circulars. From that, so you can expect at least 40% of the questions. If you are thorough with that, you are sure. Other here and there, that is, you can crack through it, not a problem. Okay. Now let us go to the compromise policy. Again, yesterday I started the policy, if I am correct. Yesterday I started this policy. I told you every year, bank comes out with various policies. One policy is the loan recovery policy of the bank. There is no separate circular for compromise policy of the bank. The policy is the loan recovery policy of the bank, HO circular 147/2022. In that loan recovery policy only, after the loan becomes NPA, what are all the avenues available for the bank to recover the NPA account? So for that, we already discussed the various avenues, like what is that IRACP and what is the provisioning norm, NPA, everything is defined over there. Then that is how will you go for a legal method, a non-legal method, who are all the recovery agents, who are all the resolution agents, what is a SARFAESI Act, in detail we discussed in the previous class. So PowerPoint with question and answer already uploaded in the CBO website. Now, in this loan recovery policy, if the bank is not able to recover the amount by following any of the methods, it will go for a compromise with the borrower. Okay. Now, that is the loan recovery policy given, in the compromise policy or the OTS policy is given in the loan recovery policy of the bank, HO circular 147/2022. Okay, sir. Now, besides this normal loan recovery policy of the bank, every year, bank will come out with various special OTS scheme. For example, this year, besides the compromise in 147/2022, we have for agricultural loan, a separate OTS policy, special OTS scheme, and for MSME, separate OTS, special OTS scheme, and small value NPA account, separate OTS, special OTS scheme. So after 147, we have 148, 149, 150. All these 3 special OTS scheme, along with the normal OTS scheme, we'll be discussing in my session. If possible, we'll try to complete by 9 o'clock today, or I will carry over a portion of it for my Friday class. Okay. All of you are aware OTS, one-time settlement. This question was asked for some level last year. Only one point from this slide I will tell you will understand. A borrower has to pay rupees 2 crores to the bank. Bank agrees for a payment of 1.50 crores and says, I will write off 50 lakhs from the books and I will also hand over you all the documents. So this is generally we called one-time settlement, OTS or compromise. That is, the bank compromises 50 lakh rupees where it has to get 2 crores. It is accepting only 1.50 crores. How? Why the bank has to write up the 50 lakhs? Why it should not follow up and get? So since bank is following up, it is not able to get, it is going for the compromise. So how that compromise, it is sufficient if you recover that 50 lakhs, 150 lakhs and allow the borrower to go, how that 50 lakh rupees is written off or bank is compromising or bank is sacrificing. How that amount is arrived at? It is arrived at based on a cost called opportunity cost. The question last time was asked, in OTS or the compromise policy, the OTS amount or the compromise amount is arrived based on what cost? It is based on the opportunity cost. Okay, it is based on that is the opportunity cost. What is that opportunity cost? The opportunity cost is the economic term. What is that opportunity cost? So the borrower has to give you, let us assume 2 crores. You are asking the borrower to give only 1.50 crores. 50 lakhs you are written off from the books. So what is that is, suppose if the 2 crores you are not going for OTS, you are not able to recover anything, the account is in NPA. You know that is first year it will be substandard. Second year, it may go to doubtful. Third year, doubtful more than 1 up to 3. And third year, it will go to DA more than 3. When an account goes to DA more than 3, all of you are aware, you have to keep 100% provision on this account. That means if the liability is 2 crores, whether there is a security or not for that account, for the 2 crores, bank has to keep 2 crores aside from the income. You have to assign. Not only that, the follow-up cost and the space it is occupying in CBS, everything involves a cost for the bank. So the bank will find out if the bank keep the 2 crores in the system and follow up, etc., and also keep the provision, what is the cost involved to the bank? On the other hand, the bank will make an analysis with regard to the benefit. If 50 lakhs is written off, 1.50 crores is recovered, what is the benefit for the bank? A cost benefit analysis will be made when the benefit is more than the cost. So the bank says, for this loan account, if you give this much money, so we will go for OTS. So the OTS amount is decided by a concept called opportunity cost by making a cost benefit analysis. Okay, sir? So OTS settlement, recovery and legal action waived initiated accounts. So as per the that is loan recovery policy 147/2022. Besides that, we have special OTS schemes for the bank. OTS for agricultural NPA accounts 148/2022. OTS for MSME NPA accounts 149/2022. OTS for small value NPAs including educational loan 150/2022. These three circulars 147, these are all the first circulars uploaded in your CanNet on 1st April 2022. So these policies we'll be discussing during the course of our discussion on the OTS policy. First, let us start with, we'll first finish off the normal compromise policy of the bank, normal scheme. If a borrower is not able to fit in any special scheme, so he'll be brought under this normal OTS scheme of the bank. Now the question is, how the OTS amount is arrived at by the bank. How the OTS amount is arrived at the bank. There are three possibilities for the bank. One is that whenever the loan becomes NPA, whenever the bank wants to go for OTS, or whenever the bank wants to take a SARFAESI action, immediately, if there are any securities to that loan, bank will take a valuation report. That valuation report should not be more than 1 year old. That valuation report should not be more than 12 months old. Okay, keep that in mind. If that question asked, you should not miss. IBBS examiner, if he chooses a topic for the exam, question paper, then from 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4. For all the levels, exam is conducted on the day, questions will come. For different levels, different types of questions will come. So, according to me, so whenever an account goes on NPA, whenever the party comes for the compromise, or when the bank goes for SARFAESI action, for fixing the reserve price, or here to fix the compromise amount, a valuation report to be taken from the panel valuer. When you take the valuation report, you find out that the realizable value of the security is sufficient to recover the full dues. So let's assume the borrower has to pay 90 lakhs along with interest. Along with interest today he has to pay. Account became NPA 2 years back. Along with the interest what you are given in the sanction, let's assume along with the penal interest, the borrower has to pay 90 lakhs. The realizable value of the security as per the valuation report, which is not more than 12 months old, let us assume the valuation report states 1.10 crores. Okay, in that case, so realizable value is 1.10 crores. The liability which he has to clear along with any interest there, 90 lakhs. Whether in such a case, the bank will go for OTS. Yes, bank will go for OTS provided it is not able to recover the amount with all the avenues available with the bank. For example, the bank went for a SARFAESI action, the bank is not successful. The bank filed a suit in the DRT court. No, nothing, no reports are coming. Even the suit is decreed, bank is not able to enforce it. Or there are so many other problems are there in the property, bank is not able to recover. So even though the realizable value of the security is sufficient to recover the full dues, if the bank may go for an OTS purpose, OTS from the borrower. The second point, the realizable value of the security alone is not sufficient to recover the dues, and only if the net worth of the borrower and guarantors are taken into account, both of them only are sufficient to recover the dues. Here also, in the first case, when the realizable value is sufficient, the bank uses a formula. As per the formula, the OTS amount to be arrived at. In the second case also, banks use a formula. So in the second case, the concessions given to the borrower is more as compared to the concession given in the first case, because first case realizable value security alone is sufficient. So the second case, both realizable value and net worth only is sufficient. Then in that case, the concessions given to the borrower is little more. The third possibility, both realizable value or the net worth of the borrower, both put together also, it is not sufficient to recover the dues. In that case, there is a different formula. So how the OTS amount is decided? First, we are seeing how the OTS amount is decided or how the compromise amount is decided, what the bank has to get from the borrower. It depends upon the valuation of the security the borrower is having whenever there is a security to the loan account. You take a valuation report. If the value of the property is sufficient, then you give a formula. If the value of the property fully not sufficient, only if you take the net worth of the borrower guarantor, it is sufficient, another formula. And third one, where both realizable value or net worth, both of them put together is not sufficient, another formula. Now let us see the formula, because they may give an example. The account became NPA on so and so date, and the realizable value of the security is so much on this day. So that is what is the compromise amount you will fix on for that borrower. So now in detail, we are going to see all those things. Now, for example, don't give much importance. On that day, somebody has asked, what is this point? Don't worry about the points. Please understand the concept. So it may be 10 also, it may be 8 also, it may be 6 also. They are given a point. Same. If the first point I told you, if the realizable value of the security is sufficient to cover the contractual dues or decretal dues. See, once an account becomes NPA, all of you are aware, it is the liability is freezed. That is called a book liability. That is the date from which stoppage of interest debit in that account takes place. We freeze it and we call it as the book liability. So from the date of stoppage of interest on that account till today, the borrower has to pay an interest. If the realizable value of the security is sufficient to cover the book liability. So what is book liability? If you open and see what is a liability, that is not the book liability, because system in the mirror, that is account pass sheet, even though the account becomes NPA, maybe every month the account interest will be debited. That is not the book liability. There is a business object report from where you have to get a book liability for all NPA accounts. The date from which interest stopped on that account, from that date till date, if you apply interest, so at the contracted rate. If the suit is not filed, if the suit is filed and decreed at the decretal rate. So what is the money the borrower has to give? If the realizable value alone is sufficient, then you say normally we will recover full amount from the borrower. If the borrower says he is not able to pay the full amount due to various reasons, in case if the party is paying lesser amount, then how much amount, OTS amount, you will ask the party to pay. Book liability. What is book liability? I already explained to you. Book liability plus simple interest at MCLR on 1/4/2022 plus 1.50%. If you take the book liability, then you find out what is MCLR on 1/4/2022 plus 1.50, apply on that. You need not apply the contractual rate or the decretal rate. So you are going for OTS, book liability. On the book liability, MCLR plus 1.50, calculate that the interest you add. You tell the borrower this much money you have to pay to the bank. We will release you. Formula number 1. So I have written here something on the reading 2.50, here 1.50. Friends, what is the importance of this point? The compromise amount, the OTS is applicable even for a willful defaulter. So let us not be under the impression OTS is applicable only for a non-willful defaulter. So the OTS is applicable for a willful defaulter in the bank or in the fraud accounts also. So the topmost, there are only one authority who can settle OTS for a willful accounts or fraud account. That we'll see who is the authority later. Suppose if the party is a willful defaulter or fraud related cases, you will charge MCLR plus 2.50. And this amount he has to give. The second point I told you, the realizable value alone is not sufficient. Only if we calculate the net worth of the borrower or the guarantor, then only the liabilities can be cleared. In that case, we will we will ask the borrower to pay an OTS amount, book liability plus simple interest as MCLR on 1/4/2022 minus 0.50. I told you here the compromise, that is the OTS amount, will be more as compared to this slab. Because you don't have only the realizable value. Only if you take these two, because realizing the property itself is very difficult. How to realize the net worth of the borrower or the guarantor by selling their properties? So difficult. So we give this much concession to the borrower. If he is a willful defaulter, we say plus 1.50. And the third possibility, both realizable value and net worth of the borrower guarantor are not sufficient to recover the dues, then there is no formula for that. Based on your negotiation skills, you should try to recover the maximum amount possible. So this slide tells you, so when you go for OTS, at the time of going for OTS, you find out what is the realizable value, what is the net worth of the borrower, etc., depending upon which apply the formula, ask the borrower to pay that much OTS amount. This is the normal OTS scheme. So we have discussed here how much money the borrower has to pay. That depends upon the realizable value of the security. To find out the realizable value of the security, the panel valuer has to give a valuation report. The valuation report should not be more than 12 months old. Okay, so next slide we'll go. I told you, MCLR plus 1.50 simple interest to be calculated on the book liability. Till which point, from which date to which date, you will calculate the book liability. Simple interest to be calculated from the date of stoppage of interest on the account becoming NPA till the end of the quarter, immediately prior to the date of submission of the OTS proposal. That means from the stoppage of interest on the book liability, not till the date of OTS proposal, till the end of the previous quarter in which the OTS proposal is submitted. For example, NPA date is 10/10/2020. The OTS date is 10/8/2022. So you have to recover simple interest from the borrower, MCLR plus 1.50 if it belongs to category A, or MCLR minus 0.50 if it belongs to second category, from 10/1/2020, that is where the cessation of interest takes place, no more interest debit from that account, till, that is not till the OTS date, simple interest from 10/1/2020 till the end of the previous quarter, the quarter in which the OTS proposal is submitted. It is sufficient. You calculate the interest from 10/1/2020 till 30/6/2022, not 10/8/2022. So this concept you should keep in mind once again. Okay, this concept you should keep in mind. Okay, sir, calculation of interest for recovering the OTS amount, how much the amount the borrower has to pay. The next point, So I told you, when the realizable value of the security alone is sufficient, the borrower is fitted in the first scale. We say the borrower is getting 8 points. The borrower is fitted in that scale. Now, so do you find, so you tell him you pay MCLR plus 1.50 plus book liability, I relieve you. But you find out at the time of negotiation of OTS, the borrower has died. You come to know that the borrower has died, or you also come to know selling the property is very difficult because of litigation, disputed property, etc. It is very difficult. And the natural calamity leading to closure of business. Due to COVID, you could not run the business, he has to close the business, or you already gone under SARFAESI, one e-auction has already conducted, but the e-auction has been failed. So what I told you, so 1, 2, 3, 4 cases. What I told you, so when the realizable value is sufficient, MCL, that is book liability, plus MCLR on 1/4/2022 plus 1.50. First category. Suppose at the time of settlement of OTS, for the first category fellow, if any one of these things happen, or all of these things have happened, or any two of these things have happened, you don't give him 8 points, you can reduce 2 points. If you reduce 2 points to him, if we reduce 2 points to him because of happening of those things, so this fellow, even though originally he is able to pay, he has to pay this much, now he gets 6 points because 2 points reduction takes place because of the happening of one of those things. So this man, you need not ask him to pay this much money. This man, you can ask him to pay only this much money. That means when any one of those things, 4 points, or all of those things have taken place at the time of OTS, originally if the borrower is fitted in this scale, you can give him 2 lesser points and fit him in this case. So lesser amount, it is sufficient. Originally, the borrower fits in this case. So that is, any one of those things have happened, you bring him down to this case. Instead of collecting this much, ask him to pay this much. So beyond 4 points, nothing can be reduced. And then from 8, you cannot bring him straight away to 4. From 8, you can bring him maximum to 6 and ask him to pay this much money. From 6, you can bring down to 4. Below 4, you cannot bring. That means originally this fellow has to pay this much money. Now this borrower is going to pay only this much money because of happening of 1 or 2 things, which I told you in the next slide. Okay, at the time of negotiation for OTS, for non-willful defaulters, if the borrower has died, sale of property is difficult, etc., maximum 2 points can be reduced for OTS. Don't worry about the points. You have to fit in the next scale, that's all. Okay, so maximum 2 points to be reduced. The minimum marks should not be below 4, because below 4, the 4 itself we say recover the maximum amount possible. So I told you the formula, 3 formula. So as per the formula, you have to tell the OTS amount the borrower has to pay. So if any one of these things happen, I also told you what is a different formula. You one slab less, that's all. Okay, now we will go. Then suppose if the party says, as per the formula you calculated, and you ask the borrower to pay, party says, I cannot pay even that much. Further reduce the OTS amount. For borrower says, further reduce the OTS amount. Whether at the less than the formula, any authority in the bank can reduce the OTS amount. That is the question. In exceptional cases, OTS proposals up to and inclusive of circle head powers to be placed before next higher authority. NHA stands for next higher authority. So suppose the OTS proposals falls at the RO power, or the OTL proposals falls at the CO power. All those OTS proposals, if the originally as per the formula he has to pay, but he says he will not pay that much, he wants further reduction. You are telling him, sir, please pay 1.50 crores. This is as per the formula. He says, I cannot pay 1.50. You further reduce it, I can pay only 1 crore. Such proposals also can be permitted by or to be placed by some other authority, not in the circle office. It has to go to head office. Okay, all proposals for OTS, wherever the borrower cannot says he will not pay as per the formula, a lesser amount can be accepted, and the proposal up to and inclusive of circle head power should go to head office. On the other hand, if the proposal falls under the HO power, they themselves can say that settle for a lesser amount. Okay, up to and inclusive of circle power account only. If the borrower says he will not pay as per the formula, it has to go to HO. In the case of HO power accounts, the respective sanctioning authority, RSA, stand for respective sanctioning authority. In respect of HO power accounts, the authorities who are sanctioning the OTS as per the formula, if the borrower says I will not pay as per the formula, I will pay something less, they themselves can accept depending upon various factors. Okay, sir. Next point. I told you up to and inclusive the previous point. I told you up to and inclusive of circle head powers, the OTS proposal, if the borrower wants to pay lesser amount other than the formula, it has to go to head office. In one more case also, even though if the borrower pays as per the formula, normally as per the formula, respective sanctioning authority starting in RO. Cases where less than the formula, including circle-led power, it has to go to HO. Another case, even though if the borrower says he will pay as per the formula, even though the proposal falls under the RO power, or even though the proposal falls under the circle power, that should not be settled here. It should go to head office only. So in two cases, proposal should go to HO. As per the formula, anything less than the formula, it has to go to HO. In another case, even though as per the formula, in one case, it has to go to HO. What is that? Accounts with book liability of rupees 1 crore and above, where adequate securities are available to cover the contractual decretal dues. First point, 8 points, no? First slab. Realizable value of the security is sufficient to cover the contractual or decretal dues. How much you are asking the borrower to pay? MCLR plus 1.50. The borrower is ready to pay. And then you see what is the book liability. You see the book liability, you find out it is 1 crore and above. So when the book liability is 1 crore and above, even though the borrower fits in the first slab, and even though he is willing to pay as per the formula, no authority up to circle level head has power to sanction the OTS. It has to go to head office only. Accounts with book liability of rupees 1 crore and above, where adequate securities are available to cover the contractual decretal dues, first paragraph, and parties, there is first slab, and parties are willing to pay as per the formula. Forget about lesser than the formula. Lesser than the formula, necessary, it has to go to HO. And parties, this is very important, you see, and parties are willing to pay as per the formula or lesser than the formula, OTS proposal up to circulate the CAC. It is not COCAS, up to circulate the CAC to be placed to GM, CGM, HOCAC. So what I want to drive home is, in two cases, the OTS proposal has to go to HO, even though the amount falls within the circle power. The first case, as per the formula, the party does not want to pay, he will pay lesser than the formula. Proposal should go to HO. And then second case, the first slab, realizable value is sufficient to cover the book liability plus the contractual dues or decretal dues. If the book liability is 1 crore and above, even though the borrower is willing to pay as per the formula, that proposal also should be placed to HO, GM, CGM only. No authority up to the circle head level has power to sanction the proposal. So in which cases? In two cases. Then next one. Who is the authority to settle OTS proposals of willful defaulters and fraud cases? I told you OTS can be settled for a willful defaulter and fraud cases also. Who is the authority? So originally it was CAC of the board. Now, in HO Circular 526 by 2021, they told the topmost authority in the hierarchy, that is the MC of the board, the management committee. The management committee is the topmost authority. Certain topmost senior officials will be there. That is then followed by credit approval committee of the board, CAC of the board. Then we have executive director, CAC. Then we have GM, CGM, HO, CAC. Then it will come to circle head CAC. GMCAC, DGMCAC, AGMCAC, then it will go to RO head CAC, then AGM ROCAC, then divisional manager DM ROCAC. This is a hierarchical level for sanctioning of a proposal, either loan proposal or OTS proposal. So if the fraud is involved or a willful defaulter, then no authority in the bank other than the management committee of the board only has power to settle the OTS as per the formula. So 1.50, 2.50, I showed different thing. They only have the authority. When in exceptional cases, after all recovery measures are exhausted, so if they are not able to recover, they can go for OTS. This OTS proposal to be placed to this authority only. However, even though the money is recovered under the OTS, all other police, CBI, vigilance, all these cases will continue. Bank will not relieve them from that. So bank will, so that is get the money and clear the liability to the extent possible. Who is the authority? MC of the board. HO Circular 526/21. Before the issuance of the circulars, CAC of the board has the power. After issuance of the circular, today it is MC of the board. In your circular 147/2022 also, this MC of the board is there. The next point, whether OTS can be considered for ex-employees of the bank. Now the question is, what type of loans for the ex-employees OTS can be considered? Friends, there are two types of loans the bank will give to the employee, that is ex-employees. What type of loan? One. So after they retired from the services of the bank, so there are three types of retirement coming out of the service. One is normal blemishless service and including BRS, normal retirement including BRS. The second one is compulsory retirement, compulsory CRS, we call it as CRS. And the third one is we have, that is dismissal from the service of the bank. Three types of coming out from the service: normal, blemishless service after putting in 60 years of service, or BRS. And the second point is compulsorily retired from the services of the bank. And the third point is that is dismissed from the services of the bank. If the borrower comes under the first category, normal retirement, including voluntary retirement, after he retires, respective sanctioning authority can give loan to him. What loans the ex-employees are eligible? Whatever loan that a normal common citizen is applying and you are sanctioning, if that ex-employee is eligible, you can give the loan to him. Okay, for example, Canara mortgage. That is a criteria for Canara mortgage. You will give 50% of the property. Provided for the repayment capacity, you will find out from what? You will find out from the last 3 years in income tax return filed. If the ex-employee is having other income other than the pension, if he has filed income tax return and if he is able to pay as per the repayment period fixed by you, for him you can give a Canara mortgage also. What are all the loans you will give to a normal customer? For the ex-employee, if he has retired normally from the service or from the BRS, respective sanctioning authority can consider. On the other hand, if he has sent on CRS, compulsory retirement, so compulsory retirement means certain benefits will not be given to him. So if he is sent on compulsory retirement, then in that case, all loans can be sanctioned, but it will be sanctioned by the next higher authority. On the other hand, if the employee is dismissed from the services of the bank, no benefits will be given to him. In that case, no loan will be given to the borrower, to the employee, ex-employee. So this is told in the delegation of our circular. Okay, whether for that type of loan, suppose an employee has retired from the services of the bank, he has availed a loan from you, but that loan became NPA. Whether OTS can be settled to the ex-employee. So normal OTS is applicable to the ex-employees for the loans sanctioned to them, as well as for the loans in which they are co-obligant guarantor, provided such loans were sanctioned to them after they ceased to be in the services of the bank. So after they come out of the services of the bank, they have availed a loan or they stood as a guarantor or co-obligant for a loan. If this loan becomes NPA, normal OTS scheme, what you have calculated, no, you can do the normal OTS, respective sanctioning authorities can settle the OTS. On the other hand, for loans sanctioned to the ex-employee, but the loan were sanctioned to them when they were in service. But after the retirement, the loan became NPA. What type of examples you will give? Educational loan. For the ward of the employee, son or daughter, we have given education loan when he was in service, he was a borrower, co-borrower. When he retired, after some time, the education loan became NPA. That will fit in here. Similarly, retail loans can be given to the close relatives of the employee. So when an employee was in service, you are given, let us assume, a retail loan to a close relative of the employee. Who can sanction the retail loan to a close relative of the employee, provided he or she is eligible? Scale 4 and above can sanction a retail loan to, or any other loan to the close relative of the employee. The one condition is the employee should stand as a guarantor or a co-obligant for that loan. So during in service, let us assume bank has sanctioned a retail loan to a close relative of the employee. The employee was a guarantor or co-obligant. When after the employee retired from the services of the bank, that loan became NPA. So that will be fit in here. You see, for loans sanctioned when they were in service, either state loans or loans for which they are guarantor, or for loans they are co-borrowers. Those loans, when it becomes NPA, after they retired from the services of the bank, not normal authority can sanction the OTS. None other than only one authority in the bank can sanction the OTS, CAC of the board. For willful defaulters, MC of the board. For employees, availed loan or guarantor when they were in service. After the retirement, the loan becomes NPA. CAC of the board only is empowered to sanction the loan. Sorry, to sanction the OTS. So the question is whether OTS can be considered for ex-employees of the bank. These are all the two conditions. Then, now, there is a concept called unapplied interest for calculation of an amount called sacrifice amount. See, friends, so this unapplied interest calculation, whenever you say it is unapplied interest, don't presume it is the contracted rate of interest plus penal interest, if any. No, that is not unapplied interest. The calculation of unapplied interest for OTS is a separate formula. So this unapplied interest which you are going to calculate, this you are calculating for internal purpose. This should not be revealed to the borrower. Whenever the NPA borrower comes and asks how much money I have to pay, on the NPA date, what is the book liability? Along with that, you calculate the interest as per the sanction plus penal interest, if any. If the loan is decreed, what is the decretal rate of interest? That only to be told to the borrower. You should not tell the unapplied interest what you are going to calculate for the OTS purpose to the borrower. This unapplied interest which you are going to calculate for the OTS purpose is something less than the contractual rate of interest or the decretal rate of interest. Okay, so I will tell you how to calculate the unapplied interest, because the delegation of power depends upon a concept called sacrifice. So sacrifice you can find out. When you can find out the sacrifice, what is the OTS amount the borrower is going to give to you? What is the book liability? What is the unapplied interest? This is the book liability. This is the unapplied interest. Both put together, this money the borrower has to give to me. But as per the OTS formula, he is going to only give something less. The difference between the two is called the sacrifice or the compromise amount. For calculating the unapplied interest along with the book liability, we will not take the contracted rate of interest or penal interest along with the contracted rate of interest, or we will not take the decretal rate of interest. A separate formula is there. Let us see what is the formula. From the date of stoppage of interest till the end of the quarter, immediately prior to the date of submission of the OTS proposal, as I told you, so if the OTS proposal is submitted on 10/8/2022 till 30/6/2022, you have to calculate the interest that is sufficient. So you will calculate the unapplied interest. How we are going to calculate, we are going to see now. It is for internal use. The unapplied interest which you are calculating for the OTS purpose, please do not reveal to the borrower. It will be much, much less than the contractual rate of interest, contractual interest which he has to pay. Please do not reveal it. It is for calculation of amount called the sacrifice. Based on the sacrifice only, delegation of power is there in the bank for OTS proposals. So calculation of unapplied interest, we will go by decreed accounts and for non-decreed accounts. Unapplied interest will be applied for different formula is there for a decreed account and a non-decreed account. Similarly, So whether it is a decreed substandard or whether it is a non-decreed substandard, whether it's a DA decreed or DA non-decreed. Similarly, loss also, depending upon the category of NPA, and the second is depending upon whether it's decreed or not, separate formula is there for calculation of the unapplied interest. Okay, so up to this, I have told you. So how much OTS amount to be taken from the borrower? If the borrower gives something less than, who is the authority to sanction? And then we went for ex-employees, it is eligible. Then in cases where borrower died, etc., what is the OTS amount you'll ask the borrower to pay? Then we have come to calculation of the unapplied interest. We also told who is the sanctioning authority for employees when they were in service, when the loan became NPA after they retired, CAC of the board. I also told you willful and fraud cases, MC of the board is the sanctioning authority. Now, we are coming to calculation of an amount called the sacrifice or compromise, that is based on book liability plus unapplied interest minus what the OTS amount offered by the party. The difference between the two is called the sacrifice for the bank. Calculation of sacrifice amount is necessary to find out to whom the OTS proposal has to be placed. Okay, now let us go. Let us see. For example, let us assume you are going to calculate the unapplied interest for substandard asset. You are going to calculate the unapplied interest for the substandard asset. What is the formula? Substandard non-decreed account. Substandard non-decreed, substandard decreed. I told you. For calculating the unapplied interest for substandard non-decreed, you take the book liability. Now, how you are going to calculate the unapplied interest? You find out what is 1 year MCLR on 1/4/2022 plus 1.25. So 1 year MCLR on 1/4/2022 plus 1.25%, or the contractor rate of interest as per the sanction, including penal interest any. So you find out 1 year MCLR on 1/4/2022 plus 1.25, or the contractor rate including penal interest if any. What is the rate of interest? The least, whichever is lower, you have to apply for calculation of the unapplied interest. Whichever is lower, you have to apply for calculation of the unapplied interest on simple basis on book liability. Suppose if it is an SSA decreed account, how you will calculate the unapplied interest? What you have to do? So contractor rate plus penal interest, or MCLR plus 1.25, or the rate awarded by the court among the three, which is the least rate of interest, you have to apply for substandard asset, decreed asset. Okay. Calculation of unapplied interest is for internal purpose only. We should not reveal it to the borrower. So because we are going to ask him to pay 1 year MCLR plus 1.25 or contracted rate with penal interest, whichever is less. If it is a decreed account, decreed rate, whichever is the least. So we should not reveal to the borrower. Suppose if it is, example I have given, unapplied interest example. Substandard non-decreed account. Substandard non-decreed account. If they give the example some questions, you should be able to answer. Substandard non-decreed account, calculation of unapplied interest. NPA date is 1/10/2021. Let us assume this is the date on which no last debit in the account, interest debit has taken place. OTS proposal is 1/8/2022. So contractor rate is 9%, penal interest is 2%. So both of them put together is 11%. Then you will find out 1 year MCLR on 1/4/2022, it is 7.25. 1 year MCLR on 1/4/2022 plus 1.25 you take, you get 8.50. I told you to calculate the unapplied interest, you have to take this one or you have to take this one for a non-decreed account. You have to take either this one or this one, whichever is least you have to apply on that book liability. From the stoppage of interest till 30/6/2022, even though the OTS proposal date is 1/8/2022, he will go to the previous quarter end. So from the stoppage of interest, let's assume 1/10/2021 is a stoppage of interest. From the date till 30/6/2022 at 8.50, not at 11%, you will apply simple interest on the book liability. That is called unapplied interest for the substandard non-decreed account. Okay, now suppose if it is a substandard decreed account, so you have taken it is 11%, then you have taken this interest at 8%, you will go and see what is the rate told by the court. If the rate told by the court, let us assume is 7%, we will take the least of that 7%. Okay, among the three, we will take the least rate. Non-decreed, among the two, we will take the lower rate and apply, and we will say this is the unapplied interest. So this unapplied interest should not be revealed to the borrower. Okay, then coming to, if the category of the advance is doubtful non-decreed, so we saw substandard non-decreed. If it is doubtful non-decreed, 1 year MCLR as on 1/4/2022 minus 1.50 or the contractual rate including penal rate if any on simple basis on the book liability. If it is substandard non-decreed, 1 year MCLR plus 1.25. If it is doubtful non-decreed, 1 year MCLR minus 1.50. See how much we are liberal. As and when the account becomes very, very old, we are more liberal towards our OTS because the opportunity cost is better for the bank. So 1 year MCLR minus 1.50. So there 1 year MCLR plus 1.25 substandard non-decreed. If it is a doubtful decreed, either this rate or the rate offered by the court, whichever is less. Then third point, unapplied interest for the loss asset. 1 year MCLR minus 3.50. So 7.25 is the 1 year MCLR minus 3.50 or the contractor rate penal interest, whichever is less. If the loan is decreed by the court, then the rate told by the court should be applied, whichever is the least. Okay, so now you found out. Now what you are going to arrive at? You are going to arrive at a concept called sacrifice amount. So it is a compromise amount or sacrifice amount. Why you are arriving at the compromise amount or sacrifice amount? Based on the sacrifice amount only, the delegation of power takes place for the OTS proposal. For whom the OTS proposal note to be placed. It depends upon the sacrifice amount. What is the formula for sacrifice amount? Book liability plus unapplied interest as per the formula. I told you how to calculate the unapplied interest for substandard non-decreed, substandard decreed. Similarly, for doubtful non-decreed, doubtful decreed, loss non-decreed, loss decreed. So you calculated the unapplied interest and you have the book liability. So both added together. That is, we say he has to give that much, at least that much money for as per the that is OTS formula. But now how much money he is going to give? I told you 3 OTS formulas, first 2 slides, okay? Or something less than that. If it is that, it has to go to HO. So what is the money he has to give? That is book liability plus the unapplied interest calculated as per the formula. Then how much OTS proposal he is giving, how much OTS amount he is offering. The difference between the two is called sacrifice amount. Depending upon the sacrifice amount, the notes to be placed to the respective sanctioning authority. Here, friends, so I want to ask you one question. If it is a direct class, we would have discussed over there. I told you what is sacrifice. Book liability plus unapplied interest as per the formula given. If it is no SSA, if it is a substandard, so this is the formula like that we have seen. And then we have seen minus 1.50, minus 3.50. At any point of time, whether there will not be any sacrifice. At any point of time, so there will not be any sacrifice. See, what is the first formula, sir? OTS amount? If the realizable value of the security is sufficient to cover the contractual dues or decretal dues, it is you collect the book liability. So sorry, you full amount he has to pay. If he is not paying the full amount, book liability plus MCLR plus 1.50. So if the borrower agrees for that, let us assume it is a substandard non-decreed account. So you are going for OTS. The borrower is realizable value is sufficient. So you are asking the borrower to pay MCLR plus 1.50 on the book liability. There, the amount, the OTS amount offered by the party will be more than the sacrifice amount because the unapplied interest you are calculating at 1.25 only. So for the substandard non-decreed, if you go by both the formula, something less than the formula, don't take. If you go by both the formula, what is realizable value is sufficient to recover the contractual dues. You ask the borrower to pay book liability plus MCLR plus 1.50. The party is also agreeing to pay. Now you are calculating to whom the OTS proposal to be placed. At the time of calculating, you find out if it is a substandard asset, non-decreed account. Then you apply this formula. Here, MCLR plus 1.25 only, or the contracted rate, whichever is less. In that case, there will not be any sacrifice. So, but you know, this unapplied interest calculation is for internal purpose. Actually, he has to give you something more. So, even though in the case number 1, even though there is not going to be any sacrifice, this proposal also to be placed to minimum RO AGM COCAC. Okay, whether any sacrifice is there or not, the proposal should go to a circular RO. It should not be placed at the branch level, cannot sanction. So, so we are coming back to the earlier slide. Last we have seen. So I explained to you what is sacrifice. So delegation depends upon the sacrifice amount. So to whom the proposal to be placed, let us start with. So if the sacrifice amount is up to 40 lakhs, including no sacrifice, the proposal to be placed RO AGM CAC. If the sacrifice amount is anything above 40 lakhs up to 50 lakhs, DGM RO CAC. So if it is more, AGM CO CAC is 40 lakhs, DGM COC is having 60 lakhs, that is circled at CGM COCAC, less than 100 lakhs is having the power. Okay, then beyond that, less than 100, anything 100 and above, it should go to, that is HOGM, CGM, like that it goes. I told you, in the case of a willful defaulter or a fraud account, no authority in the bank has power to sanction the OTS. This has to be placed only to MC of the board. No authority is having the power. It has to be placed to MC of the board. I told you, in the case of an ex-employee who have availed loan in service or who were co-obligant in service, when the loan becomes NPA after they return from the services of the bank, full power is given to no other authority other than CAC of the board. Okay, these two things we have seen. And branch heads also have some power. Branch heads do not have power to go in for sacrifice. At the most, they can waive only unapplied interest. Sacrifice means book liability plus unapplied interest. So branch heads do not have power to settle OTS, waiving book liability also. At the most, they can waive certain amount of unapplied interest, and if the parties are willing to pay, so they can settle the OTS. So what is the power? If the branch is headed by a small branch, or medium branch or large branch, they can waive unapplied interest up to 75,000. And the branch is headed by a VLB in charge can waive unapplied interest up to 1 lakh. And if it is a ELB, he can waive up to 2 lakhs. If write-off is involved, involved means book liability also to be reduced, to be sacrificed. If the write-off is involved, the minimum sanctioning authority, I told you, up to 40 lakhs, AGM ROCAC. If write-off is involved, the sanctioning authority is AGM ROCAC and above authorities. Okay, sir. Next slide. So, return of account. Whether OTS can be settled for a return of account. Already, you have written off the account from the books of your bank. So, you found out the borrower is coming for some other loan. At that time, you caught hold of him. You find out, you calculated everything, and you are telling that borrower, 2 years back, we have written off your loan. So, that is till today. So, you have to pay this much interest as per sanction. The borrower says, or I cannot pay that much, I can pay certain amount to you. So if suppose if he says, I will give you an OTS amount which is more than 50% of the book liability. What is book liability? I already explained to you. The day from which no interest is debited in that account is the book liability. So or the NPA liability. OTS amount more than 50% of the book liability. If the borrower is offering, then branch in charge can settle the OTS. No question of compromise, no question of unapplied interest calculation, etc., etc. If the OTS amount, what was the book liability? If he is paying anything more than 50% of the book liability as OTS, then branch in charges can settle the OTS. And if he pays anything less than 50% of the book liability, RO at the CAC can permit the OTS. Okay, this slide also you should know. Then the other slide is full write-off. I think this we discussed in IRACP. Now, two questions are there. Okay, there I told you, I will tell you when we go for the OTS proposal class. So full write-off without any OTS. See, the account became NPA. So you tried all measures, you are not able to recover. The borrower is also not coming for OTS. How long you will keep that account in your books? You have to clear off this liability from your books. Then you have to submit a write-off proposal. So who has to permit a write-off proposal if the full write-off is asked for without any OTS amount in an NPA account? Earlier, in the RO, some authorities were having power, then circle office is also having some power. Now, in the case of full write-off without any OTS, the minimum authority who has to sanction is GM, CGM, HOCAC. Then other authorities, higher authorities in the head office. So up to circle power, no authority is having power to write off, full write off without any OTS amount. So the three conditions are there. This question was asked last time. What are all the conditions? Tick the odd man out. See, account should have completed 5 years or more from the date of sanction. So when you are submitting the proposal, full write off OTS, account should have completed 5 years or more from the date of sanction. Point number 2, you should have been NPA for 3 years and above. So you should have been in NPA for 3 years and above. Third possibility should be a loss asset as on 31st March of previous year. If these three conditions are fulfilled, then you can submit an OTS proposal to authority through ROCO to head office. So no authority up to the circle head is having power to write off full amount without any OTS. This is possible. It can go to HO if all the three things have happened. Okay, sir. Now, let us see the question paper. Let us see the question paper. So you'll get a confidence level. Let us see a question paper. You'll get the confidence level. Then we will see the further slides, further points. Okay. Now the OTS, the question paper is already uploaded in the CBO website. Now let us see the questions with answers. First question: OTS policy of the bank. HO Circular 147/2022. Again I am repeating, friends. The questions and answers are only to give you a confidence level. If you understand the concepts, if you understand the subject, what the faculties are teaching, then that is more than sufficient to score a very high mark. So if you depend only on these questions or only on the quiz conducted by various people, so it is very difficult. So quiz is to test your knowledge. These questions are to test your knowledge. So you don't expect the examiner to give only same questions or same questions in the quiz. They will give from the subject. So you should be thorough with the subject. As Mr. Ananthakrishnan has told, the faculties have taken extreme care to prepare the presentation and explain to you. So for these topics, if you go through the presentations given by the faculties, it is more than sufficient rather than concentrating only on the question paper. Okay, sir. As per HO Circular 147/2022, in respect of accounts where the realizable value of the security is sufficient to cover the contractual or decretal dues to the bank, full amount without any compromise to be recovered. Okay. In exceptional cases, the OTS amount can be arrived at as below. Book liability plus simple interest at MCLR as on 1/4/2022 plus 1.50% per annum should be recovered. Point number P. At least book liability plus simple interest at MCLR minus 0.50% to be recovered. And point number C, recover the maximum amount possible. No compromise in such cases. The first case slide I told you, 8 points. When the realizable value is sufficient to recover the contractual dues or the decretal dues, so you have to recover the full amount. If not possible, book liability plus MCLR plus 1.50. So the option for question number 1 is book liability plus simple interest at the MCLR on 1/4/2022 plus 1.50 to be recovered. What is the point number B? Point number E for the case when book realizable value alone is not sufficient, net worth to be taken, then we got to tick point number B. If the other question is different, that is both realizable value or net worth is not sufficient, recover the maximum amount. So our question is the first point. In respect of accounts where the realizable value of the security is sufficient to cover the contractual decretal dues to the bank, full amount to be recovered without any compromise to be recovered. In exceptional cases, the OTS amount arrived at is as per A. So question number 1, your answer should be A. Question number 1, your answer should be A. Question number 2. In respect of accounts with book liability of rupees dash and above, where adequate securities are available to cover the contractual or decretal dues, any OTS proposal, though falling within the delegated powers of branch RO CO CAC, shall be placed before GM CGM HO CAC. I told you, if the book liability is 1 crore and above, if sufficient securities are available, even though as per the formula the borrower is willing to pay, that proposals should be submitted only to HO. So the amount is, if the in respect of accounts with book liability of rupees 1 crore and above. Question number 2, answer is A. Question number 2, your answer should be A. Question number 3, willful defaulters should not get institutional finance for a period of how many years from the date of removal of their names from the list of willful defaulters published by RBI Credit Information Company, CIC. Friends, who is a willful defaulter? So any person, that is wherever the unit is running very well, he is not willing to repay your loan. So he is earning sufficient income from the assets created by the bank loan, but he is not willing to repay the loan. Or he has siphoned the money, or he has diverted the funds. So this man does not want to repay your loan. He is a willful defaulter. Okay, so he is not allowing you to enter into his premises. He is not allowing you to go in for a stock inspection. Unit is running very well. He is a willful defaulter. He does not want to pay. So who has to classify a borrower in the bank as a willful defaulter? So none other, there is a committee at head office headed by executive director. Whenever you feel your borrower is a willful defaulter, you cannot call him as a willful defaulter because it has repercussions. If you feel your borrower is a willful defaulter, you have to recommend to circle office through your regional office. Circle office, along with the facts and figures, will recommend his name to be classified as a willful defaulter to head office. A committee headed by the executive director, so it will be placed before that committee. The committee will give 30 days time to the borrower to appear before the committee, either personally or through video conferencing, and explain why he should not be called as a willful defaulter. So within the 30 days, if the borrower appears and explains, and if the committee is not satisfied by the explanation given by him, committee will call him as a non-willful defaulter. And within 30 days, he is not replying, he is not coming to the committee, then also the committee will decide he can be called as a willful defaulter. Once a borrower is classified as a willful defaulter, the liability is not the criteria. Whatever may be the liability, the borrower can be classified as a willful defaulter. Even 1 lakh, 2 lakh, 3 lakhs, 5 lakhs, the borrower will be classified as a willful defaulter. But somewhere we heard, so 25 lakhs and above, 25 lakhs and above, what is that? So to inform the name of the willful defaulters to credit information companies, the liability should be 25 lakhs and above. Less than 25 lakhs liability, you need not inform the borrower name as willful defaulter, though he is a willful defaulter, to the credit information company. Similarly, there is a concept called non-cooperative borrower. Who is a non-cooperative borrower? So same, the reason he is not allowing you to enter into his premises, he is not allowing you to check his stock, etc. Even though everything is available, he is not willing to pay your loan. So he is called a non-cooperative borrower, provided the liability in the account is 50 million and above Indian rupees. 50 million means 5 crores and above. 1 million is equal to 10 lakhs. So a person, these type of people are called non-cooperative borrowers if the liability is 5 crores and above, 50 million and above. Okay. The next question is, we are discussing some points on the willful defaulters before going to the question. Now the next question is, what is the punishment given for a willful defaulter? Once a person is classified as a willful defaulter, no other financial institutions in the country will give any loan to this borrower. And when the financial institutions can give either to the borrower or if it is a company to the promoters, whole-time directors, etc., when again a loan can be given. Suppose if this institution or these borrowers has cleared their dues and their names are removed from the willful defaulters list in the credit information company or from the willful defaulters of Reserve Bank of India. Once their name is removed, immediately also you should not give. After the name is removed, after 5 years only, any financial assistance can be given to the willful defaulters. That is, as long as their name is declared as willful defaulter, no loan. Once the name is removed from the willful defaulters list, after 5 years, fresh finance can be considered to these people. And one more question regarding to this point, whether banks can publish the photographs of defaulters to recover their dues. Photographs of all defaulters, banks should not publish. Reserve Bank of India guideline. Then whose photographs can be published in the newspaper to recover the dues of the bank? Photographs of willful defaulters only to be published in the newspaper to recover the dues. The liability can be anything. But in Canara Bank, which willful defaulters photographs can be published in the newspaper? Who is the authority to permit? So again, I repeat, photograph of all defaulters should not be published in the newspaper. If you want to publish the photograph of a defaulter, you should be first classified as a willful defaulter, irrespective of the liability. Once you are classified as a willful defaulter, you can publish the photograph. These three are RBI guidelines. Now in Canara Bank, if he is a willful defaulter, if the liability is 5 lakhs, whether you can publish the photograph. As far as Canara Bank is concerned, if the liability of the willful defaulter is 10 lakhs and above, then only his photographs to be published in the newspaper. So DGM COCAC has the power to publish the photograph of a willful defaulter whose liability is 10 lakhs and above in Canara Bank. So for question number 3, the answer should be B. For question number 3, your answer should be B. Question number 4. Who is the delegated authority for OTS in respect of loans sanctioned to employees or loans sanctioned under the guarantee or co-obligation during his service and the loans turned to NPA after that service? I told you it is CAC of the board. Question number 4, answer is A. Question number 4, answer is A. Question number 5. Calculation of unapplied interest for internal purpose is to be done to work out the sacrifice. So I already told you, calculation of unapplied interest, which is not correct with regard to this in respect of non-decreed accounts. I told you, so non-decreed accounts, 3 categories: substandard, doubtful, and loss. If it is a substandard asset, non-decreed, but 1 year MCLR prevailing on 1/4/2022 plus 1.25, or the contractual rate including penal rate, whichever is less on simple basis, one is correct. In respect of doubtful asset, 1 year MCLR prevailing on 1/4/2022 minus 1.50, or contractual rate including penal, whichever is less on simple basis, that is correct. If it is doubtful, sorry, if it is substandard non-decreed, 1 year MCLR plus 1.25. Sorry, MCLR on 1/4/2022 plus 1.25. If it is doubtful, non-decreed, MCLR on 1/4/2022 minus 3.50. So, minus 1.50. In respect of loss account, at 1 year MCLR prevailing on 1/4/2022 minus 3.50, or contracted rate including penal rate, whichever is less. So A is correct, B is correct, C is also correct. So point number B is none of these. What is the question? Which is not correct? None of them are not correct. That means all of them are correct. Your option should be D. So question number 5, answer is D. None of them are not correct. So you should know the way in which you have to answer depending upon the questions being asked. So negative questions, negative answer. Positive question, positive answer. It is a negative question. None of them are not correct. That means all of them are correct. Question number 5, answer is D. Question number 6, normal. Okay, now let us go to the presentation. So then we will come back to the questions. You will be able. So once you understand the concept, you can understand, you can answer any questions. Now, what we are going to see, we saw during the from the commencement of the session, we saw how the OTS amount to be arrived, and we saw how to calculate the unapplied interest as for internal purpose. Then we found out what is the sacrifice amount, then to whom the note to be placed. In respect of willful defaulters, who is the authority? In the case of employees, who is the authority to sanction the OTS proposal? Then we are now going to certain points which are common points in the OTS proposal. 1, recover at least 10 to try to recover the maximum amount on the date of settlement itself, or at least 10 to 15% on the date of settlement. You have to recover, because afterwards he will change his mind. Try to recover maximum amount at the date of settlement, or at least 10 to 15% on the date of settlement to the borrower. Balance you can recover within a maximum period of 12 to 18 months. Maximum within a balanced period of 12 to 18 months, you can give him time, you can recover. Then you obtain the post-dated checks to be obtained. Suppose if the borrower says, I will pay after 12 months, if he has paid 10 to 15% on the date of settlement, he says, I will pay in 12 months, or I will pay in 18 months, or I will pay in 10 months, I will pay in installment. Whether for this period which you are giving time to the borrower, whether any interest he has to pay on the OTS amount to you. Yes, for the period for which he is going to pay at a later date, for the delayed period, he has to pay interest on the OTS amount. How much interest he has to pay? So these questions were asked last time. Interest on the compromise amount to be charged is 1 year MCLR prevailing on 1/4/2022 plus 1.50 simple from the date of conveying the sanction till full payment is made. Okay, so you have to charge on the compromise amount 1 year MCLR plus 1.50 till he pays the compromise amount. The next question, so which is correct? Pick the odd man out with regard to interest on the payment of the OTS amount for the delayed period. Point number 1, MCLR plus 1.50 to be collected. Then, is there any authority in the bank who can waive the interest? Any authority in the bank who can waive the interest for the delayed period? That is shown in the next slide. The respective sanctioning authority can permit 3 months time without charging the interest. I told you AGM ROCAC is the minimum level, up to MC of the board goes. So the respective sanctioning authorities can permit 3 months time so far without charging the interest. Circulate CAC can permit 6 months time without charging any interest. Then authorities in HO who are sanctioning the OTS proposal, they can file full interest on the compromise amount. Okay, so at the lower level, 3 months time, circulated CAC 6 months time, you can waive the interest on the compromise amount. At the HO level, full waiver for the delay in the compromise amount, so can be permitted. Then the next point, whether the account is covered under the ECGC or the account is covered under CGTMSC, whether these accounts can be settled under OTS. Yes, under the normal OTS scheme, these accounts also, if they are eligible, you can settle under OTS. However, before conveying the sanction to the borrower, permission from ECGC or CGTMSC to be obtained before communicating the sanction. Then, if there is a police case involved or a CBI case or a vigilance case involved, so you have to intimate those authorities stating, we have sanctioned an OTS for this borrower. We are going to communicate the sanction to the borrower. So you wait after sending the letter, you please wait for 15 days. If there is an objection from them, do not convey the sanction to the borrower. If there is no objection, or if they are not replied to your letter, 15 days are over, you can convey the sanction to the borrower. In the case of ECGC, CGTMSC, only after getting their permission, you can convey the sanction. In the second case, wait for 15 days. If there is no permission comes, no, that is rejection comes, then you can convey the sanction to the borrower. Then inform the court, DRT. If the suit is filed in the DRT, if the suit is filed in a civil court, you have to inform them through the panel advocate. And the next point is very important. Whenever the OTS is settled, a portion is written off, your amount is recovered, settled amount. So whenever these things happen, the data flows to credit information companies. Okay, whenever this OTS is settled in account, the data is flowing to the credit information companies. Whenever you are generating the CIBIL report or Equifax or anything of the borrower, if an OTS is settled in another bank, his name will appear. There it will appear settled. And that settled is named, the name is, that is a concept will appear written off or settled. This will appear for how many years? It will appear for a period of 7 years from the date of settlement. So this one you have to inform in the sanction to the borrower. In the sanction to the borrower, you are conveying the OTS sanction, no? In the sanction, you inform the borrower, minimum period of 7 years, the account will appear as settled in the records of credit information company. In the case of a suit filed account, if OTS is settled, the sanction of the OTS copy, the sanction of the OTS should be approved by your legal department. Next point, sir. Then this is very important because after 147 is issued, there is another circular 407/2022. I have given the circular number. After 147, this is a loan recovery policy where the compromise or the OTS policy of the bank is given. After that, bank has come out with a circular called 407/2022. In 147/22 also, the concept of advisory committee was there. Then what is the change in 407? So as on date, as per 407, there is an advisory committee for the OTS. And what is the role of the advisory committee? How many members are there in the advisory committee as on date? Two retired high court judges, two former bankers, not below the rank of an executive director of a nationalized bank, or if he is from State Bank of India, not below the rank of deputy managing director of SBI. So that is two high court judges and two former bankers, not below the rank of ED of a nationalized bank, not below the rank of deputy managing director. If he is from State Bank of India, two people should be there, two retired high court judge and one person from some external agency. So the 5 members will form the advisory committee. The senior most retired high court judge will be the chairman of the advisory committee. Before 407 is issued by the bank, you had only 147/2022. As per 147/2022, only one retired High Court judge was there. Now you have 2 retired High Court judges in the advisory committee. So what is the role of the advisory committee? All OTS proposals involving total sacrifice amount of rupees 1 crore and above. I told you how to calculate the sacrifice amount. So book liability plus unapplied interest as given by the formula minus the OTS amount offered by the party is the sacrifice amount. Delegation of power depends upon the sacrifice amount. All OTS proposals involving total sacrifice amount of rupees 1 crore and above first to be placed to this committee for their views, and then only it has to go to the sanctioning authority. So if the sacrifice is 1 crore and above, the note to be placed before the advisory committee. After getting their advice, the note will be placed before the respective sanctioning authority. The next point, you have settled an OTS and you are given time also to the borrower. The maximum time is 18 months. Suppose if 12 months is over, from the due date mentioned in the sanction, let us assume he wants 6 months time. Today, OTS is settled. So till June, you are given time to the borrower. So till June, he has not paid. you can wait another 12 months from the month of June. So if he comes from the month of June, another 12 months, the old OTS formula will apply. You may take the unapplied in interest, etc. for the delayed period. Beyond 12 months from the date mentioned in the OTS, if he comes, that OTS cannot be considered a fresh OTS to be considered. If 12 months are lapsed from the due date mentioned in the sanction, OTS to be considered afresh. Then leave it. And these 2 points are very important. See, whether you have to take one value, I told you, whenever you go for an OTS proposal or whenever you go for a surface action, there should be a valuation report in your hand. The valuation report should not be more than 12 months old. Now the question is whether you will take one valuation or whether you will take two valuation for the property. Here, at the time of sanctioning the loan, forget about OTS or compromise or SARFASI. At the time of sanctioning the loan, if the value of the property is 10 crores and above, you will take two valuation from two different panel valuers. Okay. Similarly, when the loan becomes NPA and when the party comes for sacrifice, the valuation report to be taken and it should not be more than 1 year old, whether you will take one or two, that is before you. If the value of the original value of the property, so at the time of you have to take the documents and you have to find out records, what was the original value of the property when I sanctioned the loan. If the original value of the property is more than 5 crores, at the time of sanctioning the loan, the value of the property was more than 5 crores. Today it may be 3 crores or 2 crores. Don't worry about it. At the time of sanctioning, if the value of the property is more than 5 crores, then before going in for compromise, I have to take two valuation reports from the panel valuers. This is applicable for fixing the reserve price under the what you call the SARFASI action also. I also told you when I discussed under SARFASI, you have to get valuation report from SARFASI approved valuer, not mere panel valuer. Here panel valuer is sufficient. So if the original value of the property is rupees more than 5 crores, two valuation report to be obtained. Two valuation report, the original value of the property, not the value as on today. Then, so in one more case also, you have to take two valuation. If the original value is 5 crores and above, one more case also, you have to take two valuation. You read the paragraph, 1 minute. In respect of securities of immovable properties, which were valued at more than rupees 1 crore at the time of last sanction, renewal, and the reduction in the present value is more than 30% of the same. In the last sanction or renewal, the value of the property, let us assume that is 2 crores. Now, when you take the valuation for the compromise amount, the value is less than 30% of the original 2 crores. In such cases also, two valuations to be taken and analyzed for the reduction in the value more than 30%. In respect of securities of immovable property, which were valued at more than 1 crore at the time of last sanction renewal, and the reduction in the present value is more than 30% of the same. In such cases, to ascertain the exact valuation, two valuation reports should be obtained and analyzed for reduction in the value before placing to the competent authority for fixing the reserve price. RP stands for reserve price under SARFASI, or for accepting the OTS proposal. Very important. In two cases, you will take two valuation report. Original value of the property is more than 5 crore, or in the last renewal or sanction, the value was more than 1 crore. Now the reduction is more than 30%. Then also you have to take two valuation. Here, supplementary question to this. So in the case wherever the collaterals are taken, fixed assets collateral are taken, land and building, etc., valuation to be taken once in 3 years. In the case of a retail loan, when you will revalue the value, that is value of the property. In the case of a retail loan, the valuation is once in 5 years, provided the liability in the retail loan is 50 lakhs and above as on previous March. So in other than retail loan, if the value, whenever you are taken that is collateral, you have to do valuation once in 3 years. In the case of a retail loan, valuation to be done once in 5 years, provided the liability in the account is more than 50 lakhs as on previous March. Okay, the difference between the two you should know. Then already they would have told you. So review of OTS. All OTS proposals sanctioned by the different authorities to be placed before the next higher authority for review, like your sanction, credit review and monitoring policy, they would have discussed to, reviews to be sent for review. Similarly, this also to be placed for review, that whether the TDS is applicable on the sacrifice amount. So, the sacrifice amount is something benefit to the borrower, whether you have to collect TDS from the sacrifice amount from the borrower. See, whether you have to ask the borrower to pay the TDS amount. As per HO Circular 450/2022, people who have read the circular, yes, you have to collect. But subsequently, as on date, as per 562/2022, no TDS to be recovered from the borrower on the sacrifice amount for whom OTS is settled. So people who are not read 562/2022, people who have read only 450, now please you understand, no TDS need be deducted as per 562/2022. Then you leave it, this I will make available to you. Then, okay, then whether the next question is whether bank can sanction fresh facilities to the borrowers under compromise concessions extended. So you are settled at OTS under a loan account under OTS. The borrower is coming for a fresh loan from you, whether you can sanction the loan. There are three possibilities, three types of giving loans to a borrower for whom OTS is settled. There are only, always keep in mind, OTS settled borrowers, if they are non-willful defaulters only, you can give another loan. Again, I repeat, loans can be given sanction to a OTS settled borrower also, provided he is a non-willful defaulter. Three types of loans can be given to them. We are going to see it. If he is a non-willful defaulter, a loan can be sanctioned up to 50,000 rupees by respective sanctioning authority for undertaking agriculture and allied activities or weaker section to take up any gainful activities. So even though I told you the minimum authority for OTS is RO AGM CAC. Even if RO AGM CAC has sanctioned the OTS, if the borrower is coming for some loan up to 50,000 rupees, the branch in charges can sanction. You need not refer it to RO stating that when OTS is settled for the borrower. If he is asking 50,000 rupees up to 50,000 for agriculture or allied activities or doing some weaker section gainful activities, respective sanctioning authority can sanction. Subject to, this question was asked, what are all the conditions, which is not one of the conditions for this. This question was asked last time for some other bank. What are all the conditions? You should have paid at least 10% of the principal of earlier loan amount before compromise. The first condition is the borrower should have paid before OTS. So 10% of the original loan principal amount he should have paid. Point number 2. So you can give this 50,000 only after 3 months of paying the compromise amount. Second point, you can give this 50,000 loan only after 3 months is over after he has paid the compromise amount. Third point, you have to take the spouse or her spouse as a joint borrower for this loan. If the spouse is not available, take the eldest family member as the joint borrower for this 50,000 loan. You may ask me, sir, why spouse or joint borrower? To inculcate a habit of, that is, discipline among the borrower. So he cannot think this also can be written off. So to inculcate a habit of discipline in the borrower, you are telling jointly. And then last point, 4 points. The first point is he should have paid at least 10% of the original loan principal amount. Second point is, that is, sorry. Second point is after 3 months of paying the compromise amount only, and he should be a non-willful defaulter. He should be a non-willful defaulter jointly. And last point is there should be a no due certificate should be in your records. So from the service area bank or cooperative banks or cooperative societies, any nearby bank branch, if you feel, ask him to get a no due certificate. So, in some cases, you will get no due certificate. In government sponsored, you will not get, etc., etc. But in this case, the no due certificate, like earlier days, should be in record. If all those 4 conditions are fulfilled, respective sanctioning authority can sanction up to 50,000 for agriculture and allied activities, and up to 50,000 for small activities for gainful, that is life for the borrower. Okay, sir. Then there is a first category. Second category, whether can you give a loan to a OTS settled borrower who is coming under the commercial segment? Now the question is, there are 2 types of segments of loan, commercial segment and consumer segment. Let us first see what is consumer segment. What is a consumer segment loan according to you? Consumer segment loan does not mean only retail loan. Retail loan is also a part of the consumer segment. We say a loan is given to the consumer segment provided the loan is in the name of an individual. When you give a loan in the name of Mr. Ramasamy, it can be a retail car loan. It can be a retail housing loan. It can be an agricultural crop loan. It can be an MSME loan. Whenever you give a loan to a borrower and the loan is in the name of an individual, we call it as, that is, consumer segment. When we give a loan to other than to an individual, for example, you are giving a loan to a partnership firm, or you are giving a loan to a company, you are giving a loan to trust, they're all called entities. They are all called in the representative capacity. Loan given to them is called loan to commercial segment. So don't be under the impression loans to consumer segment means only retail loan. All other loans given in the name of an individual is called consumer segment loan. Loan given in the name of other than individual, which are in representative capacity, is called commercial segment. For example, partnership. Now, you are given a loan to a partnership firm. You have settled OTS also. Respective authorities have settled the OTS. That partnership firm is coming for a loan from you again. So that partnership firm is coming, you have settled OTS because he is a non-willful defaulter. So if he is a non-willful defaulter, if the commercial segment is again coming for you for a loan, yes, the loan can be sanctioned. Who has to sanction the loan? Non-willful defaulters settled OTS with our bank or with other banks also. If they are coming for a loan, circle head and CAC and the above authorities only up to the delegated power can sanction the loan. Again, I repeat, for a commercial segment, OTS settled either with your bank or with other bank. Fresh loans can be sanctioned after you do whatever the procedure you are doing, no, pre-appraisal, whatever you call, etc., etc. You take all the steps to do all the appraisal, then if it is fit for sanctioning, because OTS is settled, for that reason alone, you need not, that is, reject the proposal. So circle head and above authorities are having power up to the delegated power to sanction loan to these types of parties. If the loan is falling to be sanctioned by the circle head, then before releasing the money, permission to be obtained from GM, CGM, HOCAC. So, non-willful defaulters settled OTS with our bank or other banks, circle at the CAC and the above authorities can give fresh loan for the commercial segment. Proposals falling up under circle yet, only circle yet can sanction in the circle, RO cannot sanction, no other authority in the RO, no other authority in the CO can sanction, only circle yet sanction. So all the circle yet sanctions prior clearance to be obtained from GM, CGM, HOCAC. If the loan is sanctioned by them, no prior clearance is required. If the loan is sanctioned by circulated CAC, then prior permission to be obtained from CGM or GM, HOCAC. If these loans are sanctioned by GM, CGM, HOCAC or above authorities, they need not get permission from any other authority. Suppose you are given an agricultural loan to a partnership firm. Whether agricultural loans can be given to a partnership firm or whether agricultural loans can be given to a company, they are all called commercial segment. Okay, we are discussing about commercial segment. So you would have read in the priority sector lending, loans given to a partnership firm or a proprietorship firm or company which are engaged direct agricultural activities. They can be classified under which categories are under agriculture. So loans given to a partnership firm or a company or a proprietorship firm which are directly engaged in agriculture up to 2 crores if the loan is given, that can be classified agriculture farm credit. Agriculture farm credit. Okay, those loans become NPA. Those loans, agricultural loans given to a commercial segment, if they become NPA, you are settled to OTS. Those parties are coming for a fresh loan. RO head CAC. So if they are coming for a fresh agricultural loan, RO head CAC and the above authorities up to the delegated power can sanction this loan to a commercial segment. So agricultural loan to a commercial segment, OTS settle, RO head CAC and the above authorities. For other people, commercial segment, OTS settle either with your bank or other bank, circulate only is having the power. Okay, these two commercial segment we saw and 50,000. The third category, which all of you know, retail lending. Third category, consumer segment. What is consumer segment? I already told you. Loan given to an individual is a consumer segment. It can be a retail loan. It can be a non-retail loan. So if it is a retail loan, for example, a borrower is coming for taking a Canara budget to you. So Canara budget to be sanctioned by branch in charges. It will not go to RAH in our bank. Okay, a borrower is coming for Canara budget 2 lakhs. Let us assume it falls under your power. What are the things you will see? So whether salary is there, whether salary mandate is registered with the employer, everything is pakka. Then what is his gross salary? What is his net salary? Then you will also see what is the credit score. So for retail loans, you know, from 1/1/2022, you have to arrive a concept called CRG. So whether the borrower is coming in CRG1, CRG2, CRG3 or CRG4, you will see. Depending upon under which category is coming, respective sanctioning authority up to certain CRG you can sanction. Let us assume he is coming under CRG2. So he is coming for a retail loan, consumer segment, Canara budget. So you can sanction the loan, he is getting CRG2. Respective sanctioning authorities can sanction. Amount asked for under your delegated power. All are in order. However, when you are taking the CIBIL score, or Equifax, you find out there is a word settled written off, which is not more than 3 years old. In that case, even though it falls under your power, you cannot sanction, but that can be sanctioned by the next higher authority. Now, what we are seeing, whether for the OTS settled party, whether loans can be sanctioned against by the bank. Up to 50,000 we saw. For commercial segment also we saw. For consumer segment, loans settled or written off either in your bank or other bank, which appears in the CIBIL score, the CIBIL report. If the return off is less than 3 years, then respective sanctioning authority cannot sanction. It has to go to next higher authority. If the return off is more than 5 years, if the return off is more than 3 years, then respective sanctioning authority can sanction it. That's what it is told. Reports having status as return off settled account which are more than 3 years old may be ignored for the purpose of linkage to delegation. So friends, so we saw in the last 2-3 slides whether for the OTS settled parties, fresh loan can be sanctioned. Under three categories I have classified. So this is available. It is not available in a loan recovery policy. There they are told as per the credit policy issued by the RMB. So when we go and see the credit policy, these points are there. So up to 50,000 you can give for agricultural activity. Commercial segment who can give, agriculture commercial segment who can give, then consumer segment who can give. So for the OTS settled parties also, loans other days you can sanction fresh loan, and provided he is not a willful defaulter. Okay, quickly we'll go through the remaining questions. So next class we got to take up the special OTS schemes of the bank. So this is the normal OTS scheme of the bank. So now, so quickly, there are 18 questions here. So in before 23 questions, before 9 o'clock, I will complete it. Quickly, we can go through because you can also tell the answer because I have given the explanation to you. PowerPoint is also before you. Question number 6. Normally, the payment of the compromise amount. Question number 6. Normally, the payment of the compromise amount should not exceed how many months? 3 to 6 months, 6 to 12 months, 12 to 15 months, 12 to 18 months. This question was asked. Question number 6, answer is D. Question number 6, answer is D. Which is question number 7? Which is not correct with regard to charging interest on compromise amount. I told you, no, interest also to be collected on the compromise amount, which is not correct. The compromise amount shall carry interest at 1 year MCLR prevailing on 1/4/2022 plus 1.50 simple from the due date of OTS sanction or first installment due if OTS permitted installments till the date of final payment. Correct. Whenever parties seek time for payment of the compromise amount for genuine reasons, then at the time of sanction, bank may at its discretion, the respective sanctioning authorities can permit time up to 3 months from the date of communicating the orders without charging interest on the OTS amount. Correct. Point number C. However, in exceptional cases, DGM COCAC, that is DGM headed circle heads, GM COCAC or CGM COCAC may permit proposals seeking time up to 6 months with or without interest on the OTS amount based on the merit of the case. Correct. Further, in exceptional cases, the appropriate authority permitting the proposal at HO shall have powers to waive the interest on the entire period of delay on the compromise amount depending upon the merits of case. Which is not correct? All are correct. None of these. So A is correct, B is correct, C is correct, D is correct. All are there in the HO circular 147/2022. Which is not correct? None of these. Option is E. Question number 8. The value of the security should be as per the valuation report given by the approved valuer, which should not be more than 1 year old as on the date of compromise. It should not be more than 1 year old. Question number 8, answer is C. Question number 8, answer is C. Question number 9. In respect of loans where the original value of the individual mortgaged property is more than rupees 5 crores, then fresh valuation reports from 2 empaneled valuers are to be obtained for such properties. So, which is more than 5 crores. Question number that is 9, answer is A. Question number 10. In respect of securities of immovable properties, which were valued at more than rupees dash crores at the time of last sanction renewal, and the reduction in the present value is more than 30% of the same. In such cases, to ascertain the exact valuation, 2 valuation reports should be obtained and analyzed, 1 crore and above. Question number 10, answer is 1 crore and above. Question number 11, branches shall necessarily recover at least 10% to 15%. So 10 to 15% of the compromise amount upfront at the time of entertaining the compromise. Point number 12. With respect to accounts, in respect of accounts, borrowers where CBI police case is pending, intimation of the settlement should be given to CBI concerned authorities and dash days thereafter the OTS sanction to be communicated to the party. 15 days. Question number 12, answer is 15 days. Question number 13. There should be specific mention in the OTS sanction to the effect that upon payment of the entire OTS amount as per the terms of sanction, the accounts will appear in the records of the CACs for a minimum period of 7 years with the remarks settled as per CAC Regulation Act 2005. Once they ask the question, CAC Regulation Act, CAC companies are established under which section of which act? The CAC credit information companies are established as per CAC Regulation Act 2005. Okay, sir, you should give that answer. So, for a minimum period of 7 years. So, question number 13, answer is C. Question number 14. Who is empowered to permit issuance of legal notice in respect of sanctions made by CGM, GMHO, CAC, EDCAC, CAC of the board, management committee of the board? Friends, even though the loans are sanctioned by HO authorities, either by CGM HO or GMHO, EDHO or board or MC of the board, even though the loans are sanctioned by them, issuing legal notice for these borrowers, the power rests with circle head. Okay, question number 14, answer is circle head. Question number 14, answer is B. Question number 15. In respect of OTS proposals which you have lapsed due to non-payment, part payment, or withdrawn and a period of dash months have lapsed from the due date, any request for revival of such proposals may be treated as fresh proposal, 12 months. I told you from the due date mentioned in the OTS proposal, it is valid for 12 months from the date mentioned in the proposal, not from the date of the sanction. Not from the date of sanction 12 months, you are given the sanction, you pay the money within 12 months. After the end of the 12 months only, after another 12 months you can wait, then you got to go for a fresh. Okay, from the date mentioned in the sanction, it is valid for another 12 months. Question number 15, answer is A. Question number 16, which is who is the authority in the bank to settle OTS for willful defaulters and fraud cases? Friends, you know only one authority, MC of the board. Question number 16, answer is C. Question number 17, who is the sanctioning authority in respect of return of accounts when the OTS amount offered is more than 50% of the book liability? I told you it is branch in charge. Question number 17, answer is A. Question number 18. Which one of the following is not a guideline with regard to writing off full amount of a loan without OTS as per HO Circular 433/2020? Which one of the following is not a guideline? I told you OTS without write-off, the loan account, NPA accounts written off without OTS proposal. So some authorities in HO only to be permitted and certain conditions are fulfilled. So which one of the is not a condition they are asking? Let us see the option. Question number 18 we are seeing. Account should have completed 5 years from the date of sanction. That is correct. You should have been in NPA for more than 3 years. That is also correct. Should have been classified as loss asset. That is also correct. So which is not correct? None of them are not correct. So question is, it is not a guideline. It is a negative question. The answer should be none of these. Question number 18, answer is D. Question number 19. All HO power account OTS proposals to be placed before the recovery committee at HO consist of 5 GMs for recommendations, and the recommendations is valid for 6 months. Friends, I have not told you about the GM's recovery committee. I told you about the advisory committee. So advisory committee, 1 crore and above sacrifice is there, all proposals they will see. So all HO proposal of OTS, first it has to be placed to the advisory committee if it is 1 crore and above sacrifice, and then get the view. And if it is less than 1 crore and above sacrifice, you need not go to the advisory committee. All HO proposal, OTS proposals, first to be placed to a GM recovery committee consists of 5 general managers. 5 general managers, and the recommendations given by them is valid for 6 months. Question number 19, answer is 6 months. Question number 20. All OTS proposals involving sacrifice of rupees dash crores and above to be placed before the advisory committee, and the recommendations of the committee is valid to 12 months. 1 crore and above. Advisory committee, 5 members, I told you, 407/2022, 1 crore and above. Question number 21. The advisory committee consists of how many members? 5 members are there. The least recently one more High Court judge retired is included, so it becomes 5 members. Question number 22. Proposals already recommended by the advisory committee and permitted by the respective CACs where extension of time for payment of OTS amount is sought for, of the time sought for does not exceed 24 months from the date of original sanction. Such proposals need not be placed again before the advisory committee for recommendation. 24 months. Then question number 23, the last question for the day. As per the loan recovery policy of the bank, excluding special OTS, what is the maximum power for waiving unapplied interest by the branch head of a BLB? I told you waiver of unapplied interest is possible. Waiver of unapplied interest is possible by the branch in charges, but they cannot write off the book liability. So waiver of unapplied interest for small branch, medium branch, and large branch. So we told you it is 75,000. If it is a BLB, waiver of unapplied interest, maximum 1 lakh the BLB in charge can give. If it is a ELB, the maximum unapplied interest can be waived by him up to 2 lakhs. So question number 23, as per the loan recovery policy of the bank, excluding special OTS, what is the maximum power for waiving unapplied interest by the branch head of a BLB? It should be 1 lakh. Okay, now what is there in this slide? We will see. So compromise we have seen. So credit history indicates. Okay, sir. Quickly we'll start it. In another 5 minutes we'll wind up. Now the normal OTS scheme of the bank is over. Now, so from there, what are the possible questions? What is the concept I have explained? So questions were there in the previous exams. This year also you can expect questions from that. Particularly, questions will be certain complicated if it is higher level functionaries by 3 to 4 or branch in charges or from 4 to 5, etc., etc. Now, as I told you, bank is coming out with special OTS schemes also. Why bank is coming out with special OTS? Because NPA is more in this segment. So if you recover those accounts, so bank is opportunity cost is good for the bank. So bank is coming out with special OTS scheme. Every year bank is coming out. Last year there were 4 special OTS scheme. Last year, year before last, there were 4 special OTS scheme, but this year you have only 3 special OTS scheme. So HO circular the 147 talks about normal OTS scheme. HO circular 148 talks about special OTS for agricultural accounts. HO circular 149 talks about special OTS for MSME accounts. HO circular 150 talks about special OTS for small value NPA. Besides these 3, last year we had an OTS for agricultural repeated restructured accounts which are in standard asset. Even though they were not NPA, because we have restructured and restructured kept in agriculture as restructured standard asset, for that also we had a special OTS. From this year, that special OTS scheme is not there. Only if it is NPA, the special OTS scheme will be there. For the special OTS scheme, certain conditions to be fulfilled. If the borrower cannot be fit in the special OTS scheme, you can bring him under the normal OTS scheme. So let us start with the MSME special OTS scheme. So you can think of it. Remaining thing we'll finish off in the next class. HO circular, if you have time, you can also go through 149 by 2022. NPAs classified as doubtful asset and loss asset in MSME sector. MSME, micro, small, medium enterprises. If a loan is classified as an MSME and if it is a doubtful asset or loss asset, then you can fit in here provided as on 31/3/2022, it should have been classified as a doubtful asset or loss asset. And the book liability is of rupees 200 lakhs and below as on the date of settlement. What is book liability? I already told you. So the date from which cessation of interest, the date from which no interest is debited on the account is called the book liability. MSME account, special scheme, OTS, what are all the conditions? This question they asked last time. It should have been DA, or it should have been in loss as on which date? As on 31/3/2022. What is the book liability? Should be either 200 lakhs or less than 200 lakhs. Then you can fit in the scheme. What is the scheme? We will see later. Then if it is not MSME, if it is MSC only, M is not there. So if the loan is for the MSC sector, even if it is a substandard asset, if M is brought here, so M can be given only doubtful and loss. MSE can be given even for substandard. MSC means even doubtful and loss you can go. If only M is there, medium, you can give only doubtful and loss asset. So if the loan NPAs are classified as substandard in MSC sector as on 30/9/2021 with book liability of rupees 200 lakhs and below on the date of settlement, categorized as sick, non-viable for restructuring or rehabilitation. So these questions. So they asked, so the liability should have been how much? As on which date the accounts are eligible under the special OTS scheme. If it is MSME, it should have been classified as doubtful or loss asset on which date? As on 31st March 2022. The book liability. What is book liability? I already told you. The book liability should be 2 crores or less than 2 crores. You can bring under the special OTS. So what is the difference between the special OTS and normal OTS? In special OTS, you get some more concession as compared to normal OTS. Okay, differences are there. When we go to the scheme, we will see. If it is an MSC loan, even if it is a substandard, it is eligible for OTS under the scheme. You should have been classified as NPA as substandard as on 30/9/2021. And the book liability again should be 200 lakhs and below, and the account is not eligible for restructuring or rehabilitation. In that case, MSC as on 30/9/2021 substandard and above, you can bring under the special OTS scheme. MSME only if it is doubtful and loss asset. As on, you see the dates here, 31/3/2022 and 30/9/2021. These dates questions were asked. Here it is doubtful and loss. Here it is substandard. The liability is the same in both the cases. Okay, sir? With that, we commence with the special OTS scheme for MSME loan, HO Circular 149/2022. We'll be covering the remaining 3 points also in the next session, next class. I think mostly it is Friday for me. And then I'll be carrying over it to the miscellaneous policies in the last session on Saturday. So till we meet next class, good night, friends. Thank you very much.